now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade J.J. Williams, thanking each and every one of y'all for coming back to the theater and joining me for another Hanukkah film review. As I discussed on the first episode, even though I am technically a quarter Jewish, never really been raised Hanukkah, didn't begin to celebrate the traditions and everything until getting with my daughter's mom back in 2005. And ever since then, I've tried to respect the Hanukkah traditions and everything because I feel like I was fortunate. There's so many Orthodox Jewish homes where they just completely disregard Christmas. And I was lucky that my daughter's mom was one that was willing to figure out a way to balance both so that we could accommodate both traditions and not completely disregard one over the other. And ever since then, I've tried to be mindful, be respectful, participate in the festivities whenever I can. And so since I was doing this soft reopening of Renegades Reviews ahead of my big relaunch at the first of the year, I thought this would be a perfect time to try to do some Hanukkah movies. And while there's no shortage of Christmas movies every year, thanks to Netflix originals and the Lifetime and Hallmark channels, there are very few Hanukkah films. Luckily, I was able to find 8 movies to discuss as I was doing research, digging through stuff. So tonight, as the sun goes down on the 4th night of the Festival of Lights, allow me to discuss a horror movie just called Hanukkah. It was released on December 26th, 2019. And as I stated, Hanukkah is a horror film written, directed by Eben Magar and starring Charles Fleischer, Sid Haig, P.J. Souls, Sadie Katz, Robert Felstead Jr., Tolliver Harris, Louise Rosalma, and Joe Metter. Our movie begins with a prologue, as it's a dark and spooky night on December 8th, 1983, which was the last night of Hanukkah for that year. In the basement of a Catskills home, Judah Lazarus, played by Sid Haig, an elderly Jew, checks his knives as he is preparing to sacrifice his young son Obadiah on the dining room table. A nearby radio blares reports about a Hanukkah killer who brutally murders his victims and carves a Scar of David into their chests. You see, Judah believes that God speaks to him. And while there are 613 mitzvahs or commandments in the Jewish faith, he has another 53 that God has given to him personally. Meanwhile, Judah's wife is chained up in the bathroom upstairs, naked in a bathtub full of blood. Thankfully, the police barge in and they kill Judah before he can carry out his heinous act. Fast forward 36 years, and the Hanukkah killer is back, but not in the form of Judah Lazarus, who many people think of now as the lead character in a TV movie that stars Mark Harmon, Robert Forster, and Burgess Meredith. The new Hanukkah killer is the now grown-up Obadiah, played by Joe Netter, the son that Judah didn't manage to sacrifice, who spent the intervening years in foster care, as his mother died after 3 years in an asylum. We then meet a group of friends: Adam, David, Judy, and Rachel, played by Robert Felster Jr., Tolliver Harris, Louise Rosalma, and Sadie Katz, respectively, who are on their way to their friend Ian's house for a party, and Ian is portrayed by Caleb Thomas. We learn that Rachel's boyfriend, Josh, played by DeAndre Johnson, is on her way to her house to have a dinner with her and her mother, but she decided to ditch him and go to the party instead. Josh discovers this news when he arrives at Rachel's house and is greeted by Mrs. Horowitz, played by PJ Souls. Dinner is had just the same as if Rachel was there. However, things begin to get awkward when Josh thinks that Ms. Horowitz is coming on to him. Meanwhile, back at the party, everybody is trying to get a piece of Rachel. Rachel cheats on Josh with David in another scene that is awkward, but this time in a really good and funny way. He really wanted this, and clearly she's into it as well, even though she shouts at him that he has a micro member and she can't even feel him inside of her. Now, while Rachel and David are doing their thing, Adam and Judy watch horror movies on the television. And Judy tells Adam, quote, "We need more Jewish horror movies." And she even has title ideas, such as The Last Synagogue on the Left, a play of The Last House on the Left. Pray You're Not with the Chosen People, Gefilte Flesh, and You'll Bleed a Lot Gay. As all of this is going on, Obadiah stalks his prey and begins to off his victims, the friends, in the same manner that his father did, one by one. Despite being released in 2019, this was a new one for me. If I'm being honest, the only Hanukkah movie I'd ever seen prior to watching these films that I'm reviewing for the 8 nights of the Festival of Lights was the Adam Sandler animated film, 8 Crazy Nights, which is how we'll end our Hanukkah holiday. And if I'm also being honest, I actually owned this on Blu-ray. I had seen it for purchase. I forget what the situation was, but I saw it and I saw the description of it and I saw the actors involved in it, and I jumped at it because Hanukkah movies are so hard to come by. And the star listing was phenomenal. Now, we've talked ad nauseum about holiday movies held to different standards, blah, 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 formulaic, and how it comes down to was I entertained? No, no, I I really was not. I don't even know where to begin with this. I don't. It was bad and not a good bad, not a so bad it's good. Is I often found myself wondering what the hell they were thinking making this film. I have read a few reviews where people seem to enjoy it. So much like the Hebrew Hammer, it seems to be either you love it or hate it ordeal. I will say one of the best aspects of the film is the fact that it does exist as a Jewish horror Hanukkah film, something that was even called out earlier in the film. I did enjoy the legendary names associated with the film. Sid Haig, PJ Souls. Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp was a producer on the film. Kane Hodder, who of course plays Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, Part 7 through 10, as well as being Victor Crowley in the Hatchet trilogy, was the stunt coordinator for the movie. Harry Manfredini, who did the score for everything Friday the 13th, except for Freddy vs. Jason, did the music here. Dick Miller and Charles Fleischer were in it. I just really wish their talents had been better utilized. Like I said, this was just bad. When it comes to my rating, I give it a star, and that's only for the star power. But enough about my opinion. What do you guys think of the film entitled Hanukkah? Have you seen it? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that discourse, that interaction, those engagements that I'm always trying to get from you, my loyal viewers. It's how we keep the channel thriving and growing and succeeding. Until next time, when we return to the theater for another brand new episode of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel. I have been your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, thanking each and every one of you for joining me and tuning in with me. And I will catch you guys next time.